Thank you for joining us. I'm Courtney Cole with the WBZ News Update and a look at our top stories. Police in Medford are looking for the person who called a check cashing place on Mystic Avenue and threatened employees to put money in a bag or face a bomb threat. Police say it happened just before 9 a.m. Nearby businesses in several streets in the area, they were closed as a precaution. The state police bomb squad responded, cleared the building and found no threat, but right now they're still investigating the incident. And police in Brockton and the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office, they're investigating a shooting in which one person was killed and 2 others were hurt. Police tell us it happened just before 2 this morning. This is in the area of 46 Tremont Street. A man was rushed to the hospital by a Good Samaritan but did not survive his injuries. 2 women who were also shot, they're expected to survive, but police believe the shooting was not random. We're now learning the man killed in a crash in Falmouth was the owner of a British football club. Police say 70-year-old John Burleson was headed south on Sippawisset Road yesterday when he lost control, rolled over into a ravine, and hit a tree. Burleson died at the scene. He was from Wellesley, and Burleson was the owner and chairman of London Millwall Football Club. Now, the team tweeted out this picture you see here of the players honoring Burleson and a message of condolence for his family. So it's finally feeling like the weather out there we've been waiting for, right? It's summertime. Let's get a check of that next weather forecast with meteorologist Zack.
Finally, in a much calmer trend. Barely a breeze in sight, but the wind direction playing a bit of a role. As you notice, there's a gap in our temperatures. It's coming out of the east, which means over the water, and water temps outside of Boston currently sitting at 68 degrees. We'll have a little more of a broad picture of that coming up in just a moment for anybody thinking of taking a dip. 77 right now in Boston. We're going to 79 in Plymouth, but then we'll fall back between 70 and 74 from the outer Cape to Martha's Vineyard. Coolest location, still holding on to a little more cloud cover over Nantucket, keeping you guys into the upper 60s. Far cry from that, though, 82 to 85 degrees once we go outside of 128. These are the locations that will likely see 90 when all is said and done, under partly to mostly sunny skies. You may see some fair weather clouds sort of ebb and flow, and not completely rolling out a spot shower. There shouldn't be much of anything at all. Most cities and towns going without the raindrops today, but there may just be a few kind of grazing us as we go into the middle and late afternoon. So prior to that point, we're likely into the upper 80s and low 90s as we go from the 95 corridor, Merrimack Valley, northern Worcester County, southern New Hampshire is included there too. Heat index, what it feels like when you combine that with the high humidity, dew points are still well into the 60s. It's sticky, it's muggy. It's probably going to be feeling more like the low to mid 90s across the board, which means hydration is going to be key. Keep the water bottle close by. If you're heading out towards the beach, or maybe you're going to be out on the boat, you are going to dial in the 80s rather than the 90s, and we still have a high UV index. It's July after all. You don't need me to tell you that the sun is going to be strong at this point in the season. Rip current's going to be low though, and even though we do have a system offshore, wave heights are going to be relative. It's not all that impressive, but 2 to 3 feet, especially around Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, may do enough to cap out towards Cape Ann too, with a few little white caps. Churning up the seas, but I don't think it's going to be much of a hassle. Just check in with your local lifeguards if you are going to take a swim. And speaking of which, still a little shock to the system, as we're between 65 degrees over at Hampton Beach and 68 degrees over at Good Harbor. We move a little farther to the south. We've got 70 to 73. We've seen the gauge in Cape Cod Bay actually move up considerably over the last 7 days or so. Not exactly bathwater potential, but it's certainly enough to at least be a little more comfortable for the South Shore beaches. And once we go out to Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, obviously that's always the warmest spots. You'll notice some light green just kind of grazing across us as we go into the late afternoon. Trying to move into the early evening, there's a thin veil of cloud cover that you're going to see. It's kind of this deep shade of gray that's moving across coastal Mass. That's actually the fog filling back in for Thursday morning. We'll take that back out of the equation by about 8 to 9 a.m. in similar fashion to today. Thursday is going to host some scattered chances as well. Few and far between, not a ton of definition there, but a few more rumbles, in fact, by the end of the week. Friday still has a shot at 90 degrees, but there's a front approaching us out of the west, and that's going to be the one to allow at least a few showers and thunderstorms to slip on through. So if you're heading towards the water, about 10 to 12 degrees cooler than interior locations. By Saturday, everybody's going to be back into the 80s rather than the 90s. We've got more rumbles on tap that afternoon, so we'll keep a close eye on that for weddings or any outdoor activities. By Sunday, it's out of the way. We're back in the low 80s with partial sunshine.
All right, thank you, Zach. I'm Courtney Cole, and this has been a WBZ News Update.